only way we know how to be. Talking that sports talk. You know what I'm saying? Straight out of South Carolina. Upstate, A64.
Yeah, the FANATTIC, the fanatic where we keep it OG. We talking sports, so I call what I see. I love the fans like they part of my team. I love the fans like they part of my team. Come rock with me. We got it jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound. Let's go eat.
All right, man. We ain't gonna belabor the point, man. Hey, listen, if you're new to the channel, man, Fanatic Sports Network, we talk college football most of the time. We got a basketball show called Chuck and Bucket, Saturday Night Snap Count, of course, where it's a college football wrap up, but we're in preseason mode right now. We're in list season, call your shot season. So right now we're going through and we are previewing each of the Power Four conferences, and then we'll talk a little G5 as it gets closer to the season. Also, man, listen, I'm bringing on some content creators, man. Y'all make sure y'all check them out. They're good in their own various ways. And listen, tune in to the Snapchat to the Fanatic on Monday. I'll be releasing a video, some exclusive content for you guys. Just wait till Monday. Hey, we've been working on some stuff. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them on in, man. Listen, we talking Big Ten today, so we're gonna bring in our Big Ten representative first, man. It's my guy representing Sideline Sports Penn State. It's my guy Andrew. What's going on, Andrew?
Hello, how we doing, Coach?
Hey, man, we good, man. We're here talking football, man. You've been in the off season, man, but we got you out. We got you out in preseason workouts, trying to get you ready for preseason camp.
Yeah, you got me doing a lot of homework as well, too, because 18 teams is a heck of a lot to even think about, let alone break down and study. So I know it's the off season's over.
That's right, man. We're here to get into it, man. Next up, listen, it's our guy, man. He's not new to the channel. If you new to the channel, this guy, man, he's like our YouTube brethren. It's our guy, Jason Watkins from the College Football Hall of Fame. What's going on, man?
What's up, Coach I? Thanks for having me on
chilling.
once again, man. It's all good to be in here, getting to talk about some ball as normal. Big Ten, 18 teams, man. 18 teams. This is going to be a weird season, man. I cannot wait to see how it all plays out, though.
Right. So as y'all can see, man, me and Jason repping the SEC, OU for Jason, Georgia for me, and our guy Andrew representing the Big Ten, Penn State. Listen, man, our next guy, he's representing the Big 12. That's right, man. I told y'all we got content creators representing all the Power Four conferences. And it's our guy Cody Stovall from Okie State. Locked on Okie State, man. What's going on, Cody?
Man, it's another day. I greatly appreciate the hop on here. I'm ready to talk some college football and have some fun, brother man.
That's right, man. Listen, 18 teams, dog. We gotta jump into it, bro.
Well,
like
you know that's just the beginning. That's just we're not done yet. There's no way we're done yet.
Right. You know, me and Jason talk about it all the time. The first time I was ever on his show, I said this is where we were going, man. I said it's gonna be some super conferences, and I think 5 years or so from now, maybe not that long. I don't know if we get there. But
they were on you, bro.
Right, they was, man. We got some people up in here, man. Connor Johnson in the building. What's going on, Connor, man? Sooner Fan 71 says, good evening, everyone. Sports Geek 91. I see a beaver. That's all right. Okay. Jason's in the building. Coach, what's going on, Coach Roy Ball? We appreciate you in the building, man. It looks like you should have some smooth sailing over there in my channel, brother. Wiley Litchford. I don't want to Texas sucks always down. Listen, it's gonna be a lot of fans in here. Hey, y'all keep it YouTube appropriate, but we like to have fun around here. Mars, my guy, we appreciate you, my man. Hey, man, y'all, regardless of what stream, what channel you're on, make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like on each of those channels that you're on, man. That's how you help these content creators, including myself, man. Sport Geek said this is Big Ten talk. Who cares about Texas?
Right.
All right, man. We're bringing in another one
about Texas. Nobody.
Right. Bring in another one of our panel members, man. Listen, man. I'm gonna tell y'all, man. I got a 8-team panel here. We're gonna be bringing you good content throughout the season, man. So y'all make sure y'all, like I say, subscribe to their channel if you already haven't, man. Next person up, listen, representing Georgia and the SEC, man, and just my damn opinion, a former dog himself, double dog at that, track and football. It's our guy Shawty Parker. What's going on, Shawty?
Gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Doing all right, man. We're doing all right. You got a little feedback, a little echo there, Shawty. We got a little echo, just slight. It ain't huge. It's just a little bit.
Put that cord behind your neck. You got that second one probably going.
There it is. Listen, man, we in here. I told y'all, man, it's thick up in here tonight, baby. Who else is up in here? Let's see. It's an Okie Light. Hey, Neilio. Oh, yeah, that's right. Cody is in the building. Cody is a part of. Listen, man. Cody's a part of the Snap Count panel, baby. That's right. He's gonna be rocking with us all year. Coach Roybal say, "What's up, Cody?" That's right, man.
Hey, buddy.
Listen, Locked On is all in here. We got no problem. Hey, man, technical difficulties. Like I say, man, I told y'all backstage I was running kind of late, man. We had some fanatic business to take care of, trying to bring y'all some exclusive content. Stephen G in the building. What's going on, Stephen G? Yeah, we got that fixed. Hey, man, let's jump right into this thing, man, because like I said, hey, 18 teams. I don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you, but let's do this. Just overall, Andrew, you are a resident, Big Ten guy. Just your feelings on the conference itself.
Another year where it's going to be a little bit high on the end, where we have the likes of Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, and then you're going to have some newcomers coming in, but there's also a lot of upheaval and change at the bottom end with the likes of UCLA, Purdue, Michigan State. But we have some hopeful teams like Wisconsin, Maryland, and teams that are just trying to make it over the hump and into the playoffs for the first time, including the team that I rep. But it's also going to be very interesting to see how Michigan and Washington kind of bounce back after their finals appearance, because talk about change. I mean, I'm pretty sure they lost the ball boy in Washington. So let's see what happens there. And I'm excited. It's always great to see 4 new teams, get to see 4 new fan bases, and then the ball keeps on rolling with the Big Ten, 4 new cities to market to and get more money from.
That's right, man. Shout out to Neilio, super chat over on the Hall of Fame College Football. Jason Chat say, "Hey, Jason, happy holiday weekend to you, my friend." Let's see. Will Iowa get an offense this year? That is a good question, Stephen G.
Probably not.
Shout out to Adam Vincic. I don't want to make sure I don't say your last name wrong, Vincic. Let me know if I'm saying it right. He says Ohio State loaded up via the transfer portal. If they don't win, then they might be gone. Ooh, oh, yeah. Listen, I think so. I think that's at least on Twitter, in the Twitter, world, that sounds like what Ohio State fans are wanting, even if it doesn't happen, if he doesn't get it done this year. Shout out to the Hall of Fame College Football mom. What's going on, Miss Case? So that's right. Be nice to the OU haters. They're all OU haters. Oh, man. So, hey, man, let's jump in this thing, man. Coaching tiers. We want to talk about coaching tiers. Did our guy make it in? Oh, my goodness. Listen, straight from the airport. We got him. It's JJ Kitchens representing Pitt. What's going on, JJ?
Yo, what's going on, fellas? The traveling never ends. I think I would like to just stop traveling for a while. Just put me just in one domain, and I'm just ready to call it quits right now, because the traveling's been a lot recently, all over the country, West Coast, down all the way down to Florida. Then this past weekend down in Charlotte, coming back. It's been a wild couple weeks here.
You're not complaining, are you, JJ?
Right. We're just glad you made it safe, my man. Stink ass cat is in the building, says Boomer. All right, man. We're going to talk some coaching tiers to start this off. Just listen, it's 18 coaches. We don't technically have to say anything about every single coach, but I'm gonna put up the Sports Illustrated rankings that they had for the coaches. This is how Sports Illustrated ranked the Big Ten coaches, and this just came out July the 1st. So this is like a recent ranking right here. So you got Ryan Day, Dan Lanning, Lincoln Riley, Kurt Ferentz, James Franklin, Luke Fickell is their top 6 coaches. We'll talk about that. PJ Flex, Jerome Moore, Matt Rule, Jonathan Smith, Greg Schiano, Mike Locksley at Maryland, rounding out the 12, and then the last 6: Jed Fish, first year at Washington. Brett Bielema. I'm surprised they got Brett Bielema so low, but we'll talk about that too. David Braun, Northwestern, Kirk Cincinnati at Indiana, Ryan Walters at Purdue, and Deshaun Foster at UCLA. Shawty, you in the building, man. Take a shot at this list, dog. I mean, who's too high? I guess let's start there. Who's too high?
I mean, Dan Lanning definitely too high.
Big facts.
Big facts.
Lincoln Riley is too. I mean, Kirk Ferentz, he should be above all those guys.
I think so.
Yeah.
So,
I get Ryan Day, but he does. I mean, yeah, it's a bunch of changes. I would make Matt Rule. I think he should be higher on that list. Just looking at it.
No.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know, man. So I don't like that one.
That's Sports Illustrated. I don't know. Cody, take a stab at it, man. Who's too high?
Hey, man, any list that doesn't have Greg Schiano number one ain't worth a velvet painting of two dolphins getting it on. Who's too high? Honestly, I don't think it's necessarily throwing shade, right? USC fans, or at least a decent portion of them, would agree right now that Lincoln Riley's pretty overrated for being a one-trick offensive pony that has completely disregarded defenses and doesn't really seem to still care much about it. So I would have to say Lincoln.
Look at Cody trying to get back into my good graces.
Hey, listen.
Oh, actually, you know what? On that thought, Lincoln's better than Brent. All right.
All right. So listen. So James Strice asked, "Who's Jonathan Smith?" Never heard of him. And shout out to Fisherman getting in. He is Oregon State's coach from last year. This is his first year at This is his first year at Michigan State. So listen, man, Michigan State still trying to recruit from the debacle that was Mel Tucker and how he was stealing from them. It says James Strice says French should be number one. Who else has averaged 10 wins in the last decade without a quarterback? Hey man, you might make a good point right there, dog. Kirk Ferentz definitely should be top three easy. Like, I mean, that's without even thinking about it. And honestly, he probably, like Shawty said, I think he probably should be top two. Dan Lanning is the hot name, Jason. But I mean, who else outside of Dan Lanning? Who else is too high, dog? And I'll flash the rest of the.
Hey, you know what I think about Lincoln Riley, but I think that James Franklin is also probably way too high up on the list. I mean, the guy. I mean, to me, I get it. They've done what they're doing at Penn State, but to me, you're going to have to win some of these games against the big dogs. You know,
right.
That's just kind of what I feel about it. I think that he's I think Fickell, you know, he hadn't really proved it at Wisconsin so far, but I mean, there was a rebuild job. This is a guy that took Cincinnati to the playoff. I like him, you know, maybe a little higher up this list. In fact, I think he's probably he's definitely done more than Dan Lanning's done, you know,
right.
So Sharon Moore, I think his filling in, I think he's probably, I don't know. I don't really have a big problem with that, but Matt Rule's another one of those guys that, you know, he's had rebuilds at two different programs and made them relevant. I mean, we're talking, he made Temple relevant. So
right. With that said, Jason, I think Matt Rule is minimum. He should be higher than Sharon. I mean, I get Sharon.
I think he's a top five guy. I think for sure that's a top five guy to me.
Right. So Andrew Franklin, your thoughts, and then who else might be? What your thoughts on Franklin himself, since you're a Penn State guy, and then some coaches outside of the obvious Dan Lanning, Lincoln Riley that might be too high.
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 is fine. I mean,
okay.
he's done consistently well with recruitment. He's won 3 New Year's Six Bowls. He's had multiple 10-win games plus. I think 5 is fine. The reason he's not higher is because he hasn't won the big game. And this year we play USC, UCLA, we play Ohio State. I mean, we play Washington. We'll have to win 2-3 more of those games. Sharon Moore is very tough to judge. I think he's too high simply because he just simply took over a national team. We don't know how he actually is as a coach right now. And I mean, I think, you know, Deshaun Foster being, you know, the newest newcomer, and I remember him playing in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. That's kind of like the most of my knowledge about Deshaun Foster, other than he's from the area. But yeah, I mean, these guys are it's all new. The same with Kirk Cincinnati, David Braun from Northwestern and Indiana. PJ Fleck's been at Minnesota for longer than people remembered, but he hasn't really done much. Jedd Fisch is coming from Arizona, so who knows what's happening there. Jonathan Smith is a fantastic coach who got every ounce of talent out of Oregon State's roster, but he's coming to a really tough situation with Michigan State because who in the world knows about what they're going into. But yeah, Dan Lanning's the hot name because he's a great recruiter, and they torched the transfer portal, and they're doing well in recruitment. But how is he as a game manager? How is he as a coach, especially, in the new stage? Lincoln Riley is the absolute opposite of Kirk Ferentz. Lincoln's offense, Kirk's defense, but Kirk's been doing it since God's dog was a puppy, and Lincoln Riley hasn't proved it in USC yet. So that's
big
my
facts. Hey, big facts. JJ Cignetti, is that kin to Frank Cignetti from Pitt?
No, that's actually his brother, Curt Cignetti. And if I must say, I actually would put Curt Cignetti a little bit higher. And the reason why is every place he's ever been, he's been a winner. Doesn't matter where he's been in Division II level, Division I level. He did a really good mentorship under Nick Saban in his time at Alabama. I thought Adam Brenneman actually did a really good interview with him about a couple of weeks ago. That he put out a really good bunch of information. I'm excited to see what he does there. He's got a really tough build there at Indiana. I think, honestly, Jeff Fish should be higher. I think the job that he did at Arizona, took over one of the worst programs. You look in and really in college football and what he was able to do towards his last year there, had a lot of success. Now he's going to a place in Washington that certainly has more resources. Preferably, I think he's going to do a really good job there after 1 year. I expect him to really jump up the real roster here. Excited to see what Deshaun Foster does too. Obviously, he hasn't been a head coach before, but I'm excited to see what he does at UCLA. But overall, a little bit too high. Obviously, the one I'm going after here, just very hard, is Lincoln Riley, a guy who has been well known with well-known talent, especially too last year with Caleb Williams went 7-5. The guy cannot get a defense together. Doesn't matter if he was at Oklahoma or now he's at USC. He can't put it together. I think he needs to drop a lot. Kirk Ferentz needs to be higher. I think Matt Rule needs to be higher. I think James Franklin's actually in a good spot there at number 5. He needs to beat those big dogs. He's 1-9 versus Ohio State. He's 3-6 versus Michigan, even has a losing record against Michigan State. He's got to start winning against those bigger guys, or you really have to start asking questions there. But at the end of the day, he's winning 10, 11 games a year. I mean, he's winning the games that he needs to. He's only had a couple hiccup years early on, and during the COVID year, I think he's fine where he's at. But Kirk Ferentz, he might not be able to recruit offense, but we'll see what Tim Lester does, the new offensive coordinator from Western Michigan. Obviously, he's got Cade McNamara there. That'll be fun to watch. But the rest of that list, I think it's fine. Honestly, I think you dropped Dan Lanning a little bit more because you put Kirk Ferentz up there. Right. But with Dan Lanning only a couple years in, he had one really good year this past year. But overall, you look at the rest of that list, I think, Jonathan Smith, we'll see where he goes. Obviously, I like him a lot. Personally, I know a lot of people who are connected to Matt Rule. I think he should be higher. I think he's a tremendous football coach. Again, I think Jason brought up a really good point in terms of building programs from the bottom up. He's the guy, basically, if you're down in hell and you need to get out of it, Matt Rule's your guy. And he's got a really good fan base up there. Nebraska, it doesn't matter if they're 0-12 or 12-0, the fans are going to show up. I think they do a really good job up there. They certainly have the resources. So I think he should be higher. And then obviously Sharon Moore, I think just, we'll see what he is on a full season scale. But when you talk about a guy that steps into a position to be a head football coach, his first game up at Penn State and comes out victorious, I think he's going to do a really good job, and he's done a really good job so far on the recruiting trail this year. So I think he should be just a little bit higher.
Yeah. So Sharon Moore, what I noticed when he was coaching last year and Harbaugh wasn't in the game, their offense, of course, didn't score as many points. When Harbaugh was back, they actually had a better scoring average. Nobody touched Ryan Day. He's at Ohio State with all the talent. He hasn't won the big one. He has been in the playoffs. Is Ryan Day the best coach in the Big Ten right now?
I wouldn't say the best coach. Like I said, I would go with Kirk, in my opinion, because he does more with less. But I can see the argument for Ryan Day just based off, wins and losses and, how far he has gone. So, I can see the argument. But when you're just talking about coaching and getting the best out of what you currently have on the roster, I'm definitely going with Kirk.
So, as a player, when you was coming up, if Iowa was trying to recruit you, would you have looked at Iowa?
No.
And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why he can't get those types of recruits. So you're right. I think and he's done it for what, 20 years now, Jason?
Longer. I think he's been there for longer.
Yeah, he's been there. I mean, what was it? I think he leave the freaking Browns with Belichick whenever he took that job. I mean, he's been there for a long time. But
Right.
I think that really you do have to look at it in terms of, man, this guy. Yeah, you'd like to see him, get up with the times a little bit as far as it goes with the offense and stuff. And he did get rid of his son as offensive coordinator. We'll see kind of what they do with it this year. But yeah, man, this guy's been coaching there for a long time. He just wins 10 games a year, man. He
That's
just
what he
wins
does.
10 games a year. So, I mean, I don't really know what you can say as far as, I mean, do you expect him to win the Natty? No, but he's in position to be in the playoffs all the time. And the way that they're going to play football, I think that they would, if they can get into the playoff, which I don't see why they wouldn't if they're going to win 10 games every year, that, they're going to get into the playoff. And, this is the kind of football team that could be a pain in your ass, especially in the trenches and the way that they do things, right? Once they get there.
Coach gets in said about Ryan Day gonna bring in Lou Holtz as his defensive coordinator.
Something about him was
right.
Can I add to that? I don't think that Ryan Day is the number one coach in this league either. I don't. I think that he's probably the third best, maybe. I like Luke Fickell better.
Well, Luke Fickell, I want to see what him and Matt Rule do this second year in the Big Ten. Cody, Brett Bielema, man, like, is he at the right spot or he just ain't getting no love because he at Illinois?
Well, I think he's being undervalued simply because of what he's been able to do at Illinois. But yeah, the overarching theme is always going to be that he's at Illinois, right? So he's not going to be able to bring in consistent enough talent or retain enough talent consistently to be ultra competitive in the league. And I think that's a reflection of this. And I agree with JJ on Jedd Fisch. I think he's painfully low on this list. Obviously, we don't know what he's going to do at Washington. But when it comes to X's and O's and putting players in the right positions to have the most amounts of success, Jedd Fisch seems to have done that. And I do feel like he was a loss for the Big 12, even though Arizona was able to retain a bunch of their talent.
I like that, too. I think it's going to be interesting. Like I say, Washington did lose a lot, but I like what he did at Arizona last year. Arizona was one of those teams, they didn't get the national praise, but they beat a lot of good teams. I don't know much, if anything, about Ryan.
They went from 1 win to 5 wins to 10.
Right. Big facts. And they was doing it in good fashion too. So and then so they definitely left the cupboard what I would consider full for Arizona for the next the coach that's there now. Ryan Walters at Purdue. I don't know much about that guy. I don't know if he's in a great position with Purdue. They don't have what was the receiver they had that was really good. But I don't know if they got anything at Purdue. That might not be a great situation.
They just had their highest ranked recruitment team ever at 28 last year.
28. Okay.
28 is their highest. So yeah.
Right. I mean, but that for this Purdue, so that's actually high for Purdue, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
he's also done a really good job of I do give him credit, recruiting defensive backs as well. I think he's done a really good job at that as well. So I mean, yeah, he should get a little bit of praise. We'll see what he does going forward. But yeah, he does recruit defense very well, especially in his previous recruiting class. So he does. We'll see what he does here in the future.
So Andrew, somebody made a comment earlier about the Ryan Day not winning it. What do you think he needs to do to retain his job? Because I mean, again, we can only go by what we hear their fan base say on social media or whatever. But that's the sentiment I got. I think this is a year. We talked about Mario Cristobal being under pressure. Some of us in the first ACC preview, but I think Ryan Day might be under more pressure than him.
Yeah, I mean, look at like Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley, James Franklin. 3 guys that if they have a bad season, they're going to be on a hot seat or if they're going to get fired. Like if Ryan Day loses to Michigan again in this turnaround, you're going to see pitchforks in the streets. But the one thing that Ohio State has a huge difference with is just talent. They have talent coming in their eyeballs this year. So if they win this year against Michigan and they go to the playoff, like they probably will, if not maybe the final, and all things will be well. Ryan Day is a great coach. He has a great record. He just, he's had all this talent for so long. And I think the reason that there's so much kind of turmoil around him is that if you've had these top 3 to 5 classes every single year for a decade, plus going behind him to Urban Meyer, why haven't you won the big one? and why I haven't won with Ryan Day, who was set up very much like success to Sherrone Moore, but just kind of more like on steroids, because they have 6 of the top 10 best players of the Big Ten. They have the best running back duo in the land. So now there's so little excuses left. I think that's what's probably doing that. And back-to-back years, losing to Michigan and Michigan winning the national championship, they're basically pointing like that should have been us.
Right.
So that's probably why.
Right. So, Shawty, listen, Urban Meyer didn't help his case by saying it's probably the most stacked Ohio State team ever. But you always have a different way of looking at it. Would you, in the way you look at it, progressing every year, would you say Ryan Day's on the hot seat?
Definitely depends on how the year finishes out. But I think it's a testament to him having to win this year because of how he pushed all the chips in with the way they've recruited. So, like you guys say, he definitely has to beat Michigan, and I'm gonna say he has to make the semifinals. If he doesn't make the semifinals and lose to Michigan, he's probably out of there.
Semifinals and beat Michigan. Okay. Jason and Cody, similar sentiments on Ryan Day. I know we kind of in agreement. He probably not the number one coach. He's top 3, but Michigan and the playoffs, or just Michigan?
He's got to beat Michigan for sure. That's the first thing. You better beat Michigan. And I really think you probably better not do any worse than like 11-1, maybe losing that road game to Oregon. But to me, if you lose to Michigan, you better win the whole damn thing. The whole damn thing.
Cody?
Yeah, I think that's very fair, right? For as much grief as we're going to throw Lincoln Riley's way, one of the things he did do with Bob Stoops' teams is win Big 12 titles, right? And recruit, a little bit of a better pace as well. So Ryan Day inherited a similar situation, but he has done the opposite with it, and he keeps losing to Michigan. Like Jason just mentioned, you can't do both. You cannot not play for championships and also lose to Michigan over and over again. I know somebody just said in the comments earlier that the Ohio State, board of trustees and everybody has a different mind frame than the fans. Well, that very well may be the case, but they also understand that they have to win. Ohio State's one of those places that you absolutely have to win. You have like a 4 or 5 year window, and if you're not doing the winning, you got to go. And now that Michigan has a new coach, they definitely can't stomach that one.
Big facts.
Well, he's already lost to Sherrone now. You know what I mean? You lost to him last year
without Harbaugh on the sideline, right?
Yeah, not a good look, man. Not a good look. So, I mean, to me, you got to go out there. You got to find a way. That's 3 losses in a row to Michigan. And before that, hadn't they won 9 in a row or some crap like that over Michigan? Yeah. Before that, so you're presiding over the program as it starts a losing streak. So this isn't something that you can get away with for very long. It's just, I mean, look, you lose 3 or 4 games in a row to Florida, they're going to be running coaches out of freaking Georgia too, and same with Oklahoma and Texas and all that. You just can't have it.
Right. Shawty, you always have a different take, and I want you and JJ to get on this question right here. Nilo said that raises a question: who could right now come in and do a better job in Columbus?
You want to take it,
go first?
You mean like a current coach, or new, up and coming coach? Does it matter?
It don't matter. I mean, who do you like? I mean, like you got reason why, because you always have like a unique take on like. Kirby wasn't Kirby till he was Kirby. You know what I'm saying?
But the thing about it, I mean, with the program being so loaded, I just don't know if it's going to be such a great testament of the coaching. When you got a program rocking and rolling like that, it's more just about being the head man and dealing with the personalities and making sure you're dealing with, all the things that you really don't see that the head coach has to deal with, if that makes sense. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because they have the talent. Wow. I don't know right off the top of my head, because I think you can almost just throw in the wind and hit somebody, to be honest.
With all that talent, I might be able to go out there and win 10.
Yeah.
JJ?
Yeah, so my biggest thing is when you look at Ohio State, obviously they have a very hostile, fan base, and sometimes not even too logical at times. My biggest thing is, look, if you're going to fire a coach, you're basically saying I can go out right now and get a coach that will do better no matter what. And I think that when you look at Ryan Day, his first thing that he has to do, I think that solidifies his job, is that you beat Michigan. I really think that's in retrospect for where we are really in college football. I think for him, he needs to beat Michigan. That's the number one thing he needs to do. After that, maybe win a playoff game, because obviously by that time, I think this year, if you're winning 10, 11, 12 games a year, who's really going to step in there and guarantee you, because when you fire a coach, you're basically saying, I can guarantee a guy that this guy's going to come in and do a better job. It's understandable when you fire a guy after 6 wins, 7 wins, 8 wins, it makes sense. But when you have a guy like Ryan Day, who has won 10 plus games every year he's been there, or even 11 plus games he's been there, you have to start asking a question. I think when you look at potential football coaches around the country, you got to start diving into other conferences, and potentially there might be a couple guys here or there, and maybe some guys in the National Football League you have to take a look at. Because when you're at a high-level job like that, there's only so many guys that can come in there and say, hey, take this job. Obviously, I think they're going to be really good this year because Chip Kelly is a much better offensive coordinator than he is a head football coach. I think he's established that over time, that he's just a better offensive coordinator. He doesn't want to deal with everything behind the scenes. As long as he gets to be the tactician on the sidelines that he's able to be, a guy like Will Howard, he's going to have this year put up more points, because you look at the previous years with Ohio State, the offense really hasn't been the same. So for me, as long as he beats Michigan, he's going to be safe. And I think I do agree with the Board of Trust, the comment about the Board of Trustees. If it's not to the point where the Ohio State is falling apart, if they're still competing and almost winning or winning the conference, and now especially too with the 12-team playoff, they're most likely going to get in every single year as long as they have 10, 11, 12 wins every single year. I just don't see you make that change. I think that's kind of almost like where look at Penn State. He's won 10 plus games, 11 plus games every year. Who are you going to bring in to top that? God forbid you fire the guy and then you do worse. So my biggest thing, Ryan Day, if you beat Michigan, you're about as safe as you get. Just to be honest, I think it's just kind of where you are, because that rivalry is so heated. I think it gives him that it really gives him that ledge to where, hey, he didn't win the national title, but guess what? We beat Michigan. We have those bragging rights. I think it's kind of where he's at.
Definitely got to beat Michigan, though, right? You don't have a choice but to beat Michigan.
If you lose against Michigan, then you start to have the conversation, because there's going to be guys behind closed doors. Obviously, Will Howard, him coming out last week saying it's a natty or bust. No idea why the hell he came out and said that. I mean, you just got to Ohio State. I mean, sometimes
the way I look at it too is you got a brand new AD there that has no allegiance to Ryan Day.
Yeah,
no,
he didn't hire the guy. You know what I mean?
Whom else you bring in, you're going to have to pay like a Ryan Day anyway.
I still think it's Mike Vrabel. He played there.
Yeah,
he
I think that Mike Vrabel was a hell of a thought. Oh, I think that's a freaking fantastic hire.
With a great roster, absolutely. He's won Super Bowls. He's tough. He's an Ohio guy. I think Mike Vrabel would be the next coach.
Very good call.
That's the winner right there. That is the winner. I was saying Lance Leipold. I think that Mike Vrabel is. We don't even have
he's
to talk
available.
About anybody else.
He's just a coordinator and analyst somewhere. Get him. And absolutely. For Penn State, Matt Rule actually played at Penn State as a linebacker and is from the area. That's who I'd have to replace him, James Franklin. So always go to the well with the alumni association, but it's always tough. Ohio State is such an amazing job. You can pick anybody. They'll still probably get top 5 recruiting classes. This is the first time in over a decade or almost 2 decades where you have to say you got to beat Michigan. Because the longest time they've been beating Michigan.
But it has to be top 5 high press football.
And it truly goes to show overall, though, just how hard it is to win a national championship and how hard it is to find those coaches in between.
Uh-huh.
Hey, man, just storming in our area, your boy having some challenges, so I had to restart the computer, bro. I'm like, good Lord. I appreciate y'all for carrying on. All right, let's see here.
We said that you were going to be the coach, by the way. You're going to be
Yeah, they're going to hire you, Coach.
They're going to hire me, too, man. I don't want that pressure, all that. Listen, if I
you got the staff already right here.
What pressure is that for you, bro? $10 million a year, all you got to do is make it 3 years, bro. 3 years.
As my OC, I put Jason gonna be my D-line coach. You gotta get. You know about the trench. You gotta get him good.
Come and get him. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, it's on. I would really have a hard time, being around the Buckeyes all the time. But it is. I would do it for the money. I'll do it for the money because you're gonna pay me, Coach.
Oh yeah, listen. If you want some top coaches, you better pay them.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, I think we can go in and do at least 10-2, right? We could beat Michigan. You know what I'm saying? We know Sharon, right? Sharon Moore is only going to run the ball, right?
Hey, we're gonna do something. We're gonna make it work.
Man. All right, man. Let's talk about some of these top players in the conference. Andrew, I know you did some good research on there. We're going to talk about quarterbacks and all of that, but who are some of the top players on your team, particularly that you're looking forward to this year?
Well, the best player on our team is Abdul Carter. He's linebacker, defensive end. He's a top 10 caliber player. He can put his hand in the dirt. He could also come back to cover. He wears number 11. I mean, he's our force. He's our heart and soul of our defense. On the back end, we have two seniors. We have KJ Winston and Jason and Reed, who are safeties. We've lost both cornerbacks, but we're trying to replace them. Overall, you know, when Dylan Gabriel committed to Oregon, you're thinking like that was the last thing they needed because they had to replace Nix. They have that. Ohio State has like 14 people you can probably name, but they still have JTT. They still have Tyleik Williams, and they have the running backs of Quinshon Judkins, and they have TreVeyon Henderson. So they're going to be just fine, along with Denzel Burke in the back. But I'm just excited to see how Penn State takes that next step, how Nebraska can take that next step, how Luke Fickell is going to find the right person to run that Wisconsin offense, and hopefully they don't get year after year. They've had these gruesome injuries that's just completely deflated their season. Now with Tyler Van Dyke up there. So I think there's a lot of impact players that we can go. And I think, funny enough, Michigan lost a ton of talent, but they still probably had the best tight end in the league with Colston Loveland. So they're going to rely on the running game with Donovan Edwards back there, and they're going to rely on the short in between the laces. So there's going to be stacked teams all over the place, but I'm interested to see what the four new teams coming in can bring, and like a new kind of flair, and see how some of the other teams can play in the snow, because it'll be their first time playing in the snow for a long time.
Big facts, man. Shout out to Let's Toast Media is in here. It's good. Go Blue back to back. Let's Toast. How you feeling about Sharon Moore? Obviously good. You saying back to back. I don't know if that's just some blue Kool-Aid you're drinking on, or if that's how you feel for real. We got some other people that joined the show. Trojan Fight was in here somewhere. Shout out to Trojan Fight. Hog Guy Hog Wild Podcast. SEC mode representing Arkansas, and of course, let's toast Sooner Cherry Bear. Is that who's that? That's on you. Is this your mom?
Yeah, it's no. No.
Oh, okay. Mom? I was about to say she got two accounts. I was like,
the burner account.
That's the artist formerly known as Sooner Lemon. So
got you. Yeah. Fight on Natties is in the building. It says, cut it out with the cold weather narrative. Will humans, everybody gets cold. That's true, but playing in it is something different. I don't know, especially when you from out west, man. Like the cold, like I can tell you right now, it gets cold in South Carolina, but it ain't like Michigan cold. I can tell you that right now.
It gets cold in Washington. It ain't like Michigan cold either.
Yeah, and it ain't like Pennsylvania. I can tell you that. Yeah.
What it boils down to is having a choice. If you don't have to, why do it?
Right. Cody, who you looking at in this conference, man? Maybe some top players, possibly all conference, maybe even some All-Americans.
Well, I think Will Howard, for me, not simply because he was at Kansas State, right? I think from a physiological perspective, his size and his athletic capabilities do give him a little bit of a different weapon. Everyone's talked about Chip Kelly, right? You have those two guys behind you, and Quinshon Judkins, but I can't even believe he left Ole Miss, honestly. And then TreVeyon Henderson. That's going to spell a lot of relief for Will Howard. So I would expect Will Howard to have a significantly bigger seasons than he ever even did at Kansas State.
He's going to have all the talent around him. So we'll see if he can make good on that. Fisherman says that, looking at USC's schedule, they don't even have to travel to the Midwest till after October. Wow.
It's even worse.
That right. Like my nephew played at Louisville, and
worse.
in October in Louisville, which is lower,
They caught a
lower
break on their
south.
schedule for sure. They caught a break on their schedule for
Well,
sure.
they caught a break on their schedule, team wise, but weather wise, they didn't. Like you go
Yeah, it's
into the
even worse.
Midwest in
It's even worse after
October.
October.
Yeah, that's snow time. So JJ, what you looking at, man? Will Howard, is that is that somebody you're looking forward to? I'm looking forward to seeing how Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson can be used in the same backfield. So
Yeah, so there's actually a bunch of names I have on here, but overall, just to give like a different variety of guys that one like All-American wise, but some guys I actually want to watch. First off, in Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, obviously going from Oklahoma to Oregon. What's that look like? I think he's a great quarterback. He's a great player overall. I think he does an incredible job with great work ethic. I'm really excited to watch him. But also, too, Noah Winnington, running back at Oregon. I want to see how he does this year. Obviously, we already talked about Will Howard and Travion Henderson. Obviously, two great players. Obviously, Donovan Edwards is coming back to Michigan, an absolute stud. I love the way he runs aggressively. I think, really, when you look at him at Michigan, the job he was able to do on a consistent basis. Tyler Van Dyke going from Miami to Wisconsin. Yeah. Obviously, Wisconsin, Luke Fickell has done a really good job of really changing the tide at Wisconsin. Obviously, when Paul Chryst was there for numerous years, it was really just run heavy, obviously, with taking North Carolina's offensive coordinator from there. I thought he did a tremendous job at North Carolina. Now he went to Wisconsin. They're really changing the identity there. I think Tyler Van Dyke will actually do a really good job there when he gets up there. For the Indiana fans, Curtis O'Rourke, quarterback from Ohio, goes to Indiana. I want to see how he does this year. He did a tremendous job at Ohio. Does he able to really jump up to the Big Ten level? Obviously, the different amount of teams you're going to go through. I'm really excited to see what he does. Obviously, Tino Sunseri, former Pitt quarterback. He's now the co-offensive coordinator up there. Obviously, they got a good coaching staff up there as well. Excited to see what he does. Giles Jackson, wide receiver at Washington, a guy that I really want to watch to see how he does going forward. Really good player. But obviously, the last one, Iowa's offense, a completely different offense this year with Tim Lester. He runs an RPO offense, modern-day offense, has Cade McNamara, former quarterback from Michigan. Excited to see, does it something match up with their offense? Obviously, with their defense, actually. Obviously, Iowa's got a great, tremendous defense. You look at the Big Ten overall, really known for their defense, not so much the offense, but when you look at Iowa, are they actually able to do something comparative to where they can actually score more than compared to last year? 1.5 offensive touchdowns per game last year. Can they do better than that this year? And they went to the Big Ten title game with averaging 1.5 touchdowns a game. So Tim Lester, can you do better than that? That'll be fun to watch going forward.
Big facts. I'm gonna let Jason and Shawty get in on some players they may be looking forward to, and then me and Cody, we're gonna tackle this question right here. It says, so is Ohio State basically a running team or a passing team, and their trenches weren't that good? And he says your trenches just don't get better overnight. So Shawty and Jason, I'll let y'all touch those top players.
Go ahead, Shawty.
I want to see Evan Stewart, man, the transfer from Texas A&M. I'm an offensive guy.
Right.
He's going to Oregon, man. He's bringing over roughly, close to 100 catches to Oregon, who already has a loaded offense. And to what JJ said, I really want him to see what he can do with Dylan Gabriel, as the quarterback. So I really want to see those two guys. I'm very excited to see what Dylan Gabriel can do over there. I think he fits that offense perfect. He's one of the only few quarterbacks that's coming back, I think, that threw for over 500 yards. And I don't know if y'all know, Oregon is also one of the only teams that I've seen in many publications that are ranked in the top 10 offensively and defensively. So I'm excited about those two players.
Sound like you taking some excuses away from Dan Lanning too, because it sounds like he should be real ready to hit the Big Ten. I kind of agree.
It's coaching though, it just has not. When you just talking about coaching, he just doesn't have the resume yet.
Right. We still need to see more. Right, Jason. What about those?
Well,
players,
if you look at that defensive side of the ball there, the guys that you've got coming in that aren't seniors or haven't already been there, redshirt junior transfers. You've got Derek Harmon, Jemery Caldwell. You got a bunch of senior leadership here. Brandon Johnson, Jabbar Muhammad, Kobe Savage. But I think that Mateo Uiagalelei is going to be – he was really starting to come on towards the end of last year from that edge position. I think they're going to play him kind of outside linebacker edge a lot this year coming up. So you expect a little bit out of him. He was towards the end of the season. They've got him slated as a starter this year coming around. I do think that, like Shawty said, I really like Evan Stewart to go with Dylan Gabriel as well. I think that offensively, when you start looking at what they're doing there, I mean, look, even after you saw a coaching change at the offensive coordinator position because you had a guy that left, this is it's surely time for Oregon to kind of step up. They're 0-3 against Washington under Dan Lanning. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, they didn't beat him once. So, to me, you really got to step up and do that. But I think they do have the defense to get it done. I would probably look at myself. I like Penn State as well too. I know I'm kind of rough on James Franklin, but to me, I think that Drew Aller, with the addition of Andy Koltonicki as their offensive coordinator, I think that you're probably going to see some things that we hadn't seen in a while there in Happy Valley, because he is a guy that, look, man, I'm a big fan of what they do at Kansas under Lance Leipold, and I think that Andy Koltonicki was one of the biggest reasons why they were able to do those things. They run the football very well out of the way that they block things up, and I think that he's going to bring a wrinkle into that thing and work with Drew Aller in ways that kind of gets him freed up to not, it's not such a, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here.
Constrained.
I guess about to say constrained, because are they going to actually let him throw the ball like he's
neutered?
God, I would hope so. God, I would hope so. And I
let him run.
They haven't had receivers. They don't have receivers, but how would you know? You don't throw it.
Yeah.
So it's I like the move there. I think it was probably the best move that James Franklin made throughout the year.
Big facts, man. Big facts. So Let's Toast Media, Michigan fan, says, is Ohio State a running team or a passing team? You just don't get better in the trenches overnight. Now, Cody being an Oklahoma State guy, you guys know a lot about at least the running part of it, you know what I'm saying, in the trenches, and then it's Penn State as well. Both good running teams from last year. Chip Kelly, in my opinion, is a run-first guy. So, I mean, I think they're going to be a running team regardless of how much improvement they made on the offensive line at Ohio State.
I think that would be a fair analysis, but I think I'm going to go the other way around here, simply because, you typically run to set up the pass, right? I think that they very well could use the pass to set up the run, primarily because they just got the Alabama center transfer that started 35 games in Seth McLaughlin. So when it comes to calling different packages and how to shift and how to make adjustments at the line of scrimmage, you have to have that dude. They have that dude now. And Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson are going to get theirs. So instead of them beating up the holes, you give them opportunities to hit home runs by using the pass game to set it up. So I would say that they lean on the run, but by utilizing the pass first.
Thoughts on that, Andrew?
I think that's fine. I mean, to be honest, there's going to be two able-bodied quarterbacks in Ohio State. I think it's going to be kind of sometime it might be the hot hand. We're going to get a lot of talk throughout all of camp of whose team it actually is. But when you have Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson in the backfield, I don't care who the hell you have. You just run it, because that's what kills them over time. And then they can take over their 3 or 4 5-star wide receivers can take over a game, kind of lull you to sleep and then hit the home run. I think that's probably what they're looking forward to, but they have so much talent all over the field. It doesn't really matter. They don't have to be one thing or the other, but I think with a bolstered offensive line and their home run and the transfer portal, I would probably see it more run heavy, because they really don't have that perfect quarterback for their system that's been there for a long time that can understand their playbook blind. So I'm assuming they're going to probably rely more on the run to start with and maybe open up that playbook as the year goes along.
Definitely going to be interesting. Chip Kelly's first year there. Go ahead, JJ.
And I'm also going to say, I think when you look at the tactician of what Chip Kelly is, the first thing that he's going to go through during fall camp, and he's probably got a mirror image of it through spring camp and obviously summer camp, obviously summer OTAs, which they're just finishing up. They'll have the rest of this month off. is Will Howard. What does Will Howard do good and what does he do bad? What's really in between you have to look at. I think overall, when you look at the offense of Ohio State, there still are some questions on the right side of Ohio State's offensive line. You'll still have that. But still, I think when you look at Chip Kelly, when he puts together an offense, he looks at the pros and the cons of what he's able to really have. What's his pros and what's his cons? I think overall it depends on what is Will Howard really able to do. The quarterback position dictates so much of what you're able to do on offense. Is he able to really relish the RPO scheme? Is he really able to really look at what Chip Kelly's trying to set up? And a lot of times it's a lot of visionary things that you're running this play now to set up 3 or 4 plays down the road. So is Will Howard really able to adjust to what Chip Kelly's looking to do? If he's able to do that, I think it's going to be more of like a 50-50. Being able to run the football. You got Travion Henderson that's there. We've obviously talked about. But obviously, look at Ohio State's wide receiver group. It's always been phenomenal. I think overall he'll be able to really set it up to where he's really able to attack the weaknesses of each team that he's able to face in the schedule.
And I mean, look, if you look at last year, what they did, they had 1,800 rushing yards with just Travion Henderson. They're adding one of the best running backs in the country. You can say that their O-line was bad last year, but it wasn't that bad. They had 1,800 freaking yards. And I mean, to me, they averaged 138 yards a game on the ground. Of course that they were a pass first team because they have the best receiving core in the country. I mean, I get that. But I think when you have 2 running backs like this, you better set up everything else through that. I mean, because I in my opinion, Will Howard does not need pressure on him. So if you put him in a situation where he has to go win with his arm and you haven't set it up for him to get out there and not have guys breathing down his neck, you're in deep shit with Will Howard.
Right. Nidio gets in here. Nidio's a K-State guy, so he knows Will Howard, and he says Will's got to be able to check down and find that second, third option. He struggled with that last year, and then it kept them from winning a couple of games. So that's good stuff. Cody, did you get in there with your top players or players you're looking forward to seeing this year?
Yeah, all I care about is Will Howard.
Just the Will Howard. Hey, that's what's up. Listen, he's got the talent, dog. So it's like, even if I don't know, like, Shuddy, what'd you say about DJU down in Florida State? He just don't have to lose games, right?
Right. Exactly. That's exactly how it has to be. When you have those kind of guys, that talent around those kind of guys, this got to be a season where you just kind of want to build on the running game. Don't show too much. In every game, you just want to kind of progress a little bit and just let Will get a little bit more acclimated. You don't want to have to come out and just have him firing the ball all over the field. I don't know if he's that kind of guy. So with the talent around him, you only want to throw the ball when you need to throw the ball, and he should be able to execute with that talent around him.
Right. So for a typical Ohio State fan, maybe at the beginning of the season, outside of some big games, it might not look like the offense you want it to look like. It might, it might be some let's, like you say, throw it when necessary type deal.
You might be limping for a couple games, limping a little bit, and all of a sudden you start kicking.
Isn't their starting X receiver a true freshman though?
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah,
he's the number 4 player in the world. So
he might be. Yeah, he might be
the number 4 player in the world.
Coming into the season, he was number 4 player.
That's Toast Media says so. Building on the running game.
Japan might disagree recently.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, they didn't have all the good players. Listen, I think again, he's got talent, and that can help him. He's got a great 2 offensive minds as the head guy and the OC. So even if he's not great,
Will got 3 games he got to win. 2 or 3 games he got to win. I think it's Michigan, Oregon,
in Washington. He's got Washington
and the
on there.
Quarterfinal game going into the semis.
Right. I mean, after that, like honestly, the rest of the talent could take care of of that. I mean, I want to know myself what happened to and maybe he hit the transfer portal. I just didn't know what happened to Devin Brown. Is he not
still there? Yeah,
I thought what I heard was Devin Brown should have won the game. People like a lot of Ohio State fans, out on social media was all on Kyle McCord saying that Devin Brown was better. I'm thinking like if he was that good, how did Will just come in and take his cookies like that? I mean, what's going on up there? But
I mean, he didn't beat out Kyle McCord last year, but Kyle McCord is now the Syracuse quarterback.
Right.
So it's now between him and a transfer quarterback. Devin Brown is still there. So
Right. Okay. Well, listen, man. Now we just move on into those contenders. Of course, I think every conference got about 4 real contenders, maybe 5. But Andrew, I'll let you start it out, man. Contenders and then a surprise team. You know what I'm saying, that people might not be looking for.
Contenders: Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and maybe Michigan. I think my surprise team would be Rutgers this year. I think they actually have a pretty good team, and they have a cakewalk of a schedule. They avoid Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and I believe Washington or Oregon, and they don't have like a away game in the month of October. It's odd. They have like a very easy way to actually get to a quick 6 wins. So I would say that this is going to be the next step for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
JJ, jump in on that. Then Shawty, I'll let you jump in on contenders and maybe some surprise team or 2.
Yeah, so I mean, my contenders really, I think, are pretty obvious in terms of Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, and Penn State. Again, I think the hire for Penn State, Andy was a great hire. I just want to see overall if he's allowed to run his offense. That's the biggest thing. But Penn State's defense is always up there. Always love, again, Abdul Carter. I was so upset to see Zachariah Fisher out of Aliquippa here in Pittsburgh get hurt. Hopefully he gets back healthy. But overall, Penn State's defense is always up there. Michigan will always have a great defense. Oregon, I think, is tough. I think they'll be able to really bounce back in terms of coming to the Big Ten, be competitive. Of course, Ohio State, I think, just has the best roster. When it comes to teams actually to watch for, 2 teams overall that I'm looking at that I think they could really sneak up on people. Number 1, Washington. Never look out for a guy like Jed Fish, a guy he's brought Belichick on board. There's a lot of good guys, especially tacticians, that he's brought on board there. The cupboard was not bare. He brought in some guys, especially through the transfer portal. He's got Will Rogers at quarterback. I think he's going to be able to do a lot there. And obviously, number 2, with Phil Longo there as offensive coordinator and Tyler Van Dyke going up there, Luke Fickell in Wisconsin. I think you got to really watch those guys up there. I think he's going into year 2. Luke Fickell is a guy that really has adapted himself to saying, from where his time was when he first started at Ohio State. He talked recently about the mistakes he made there and when he went to Cincinnati and now to Wisconsin. I think he's a tremendous football coach. I'm excited to watch him this year. And then one other team that potentially maybe probably a couple years off, Matt Rule in Nebraska. I think overall he continues to develop and really recruit really well there. Another team to watch there.
Listen, I like all of that too, JJ. I'm kind of in agreement with that. I'm interested to see what Jed Fish just definitely does with Washington. And coming off of, like, now they've, I think Shawty always says, like, once you get to that point, you want it more and more and more, and then you want to take it even further. Like, they're making the playoffs last year, things of that nature. Les Toast Media says Nebraska, and he likes the Rutgers pick. Listen, I think Nebraska could sneak up on some people. I think Matt Rule is a good coach. I think he's building, at least trying to build the trenches like you need to be an elite team or at least a competitor. Les Toast Me, I do have a question for you. I think at Michigan, of course, I think we all think and know that, championships are the standard and what you're shooting for every year. With losing, your safety, Rod, what was his name? Rod Moore, if I'm not mistaken, and then Keon Saab to the transfer portal. How are you feeling? What's the least amount of games Sharon Moore can win in his first year without you guys like turning over tables and stuff like that? Shawty, contenders and maybe a team to watch.
I mean, everybody don't pretty much hit on the contenders. I mean, you're talking about Michigan, Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. One thing I will say this right here, people talk about the SEC and we're talking about defenses, but right now you're looking at the Big Ten. I think they may have 4 of the top 10 defenses in the country, right? Mm-hmm. So with that being said, my sleeper team is gonna be Iowa because they're one of those top 10 defenses. They may have a shot at winning that conference just based off the defense that they can play, and God forbid if they can find a little offense.
Right, and if somebody got the schedule in front of them or can look it up, does Ohio State have to play Iowa? Because if not, that might be the call of the year, Shawty.
Iowa goes to Ohio State October 5th.
Oof,
there you go.
That's going to be a tough one right there. Sooner Cowboy says Michigan will lose 3+ games this season.
They're going to capitalize each other. All 3 of those teams, I think, have to play each other. Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon.
Right. Les Toast says undefeated, nothing less. That's a tough ask for a first-year coach. I
That's a
don't
lot.
care who
Wins.
you are.
Let's be
That's a
realistic
lot.
here.
That's a lot.
Crazy.
That's
This guy's
tough,
crazy.
man. I don't know if I'll put that on the guy like
Yeah.
that, dog. That's tough
That's
right there,
crazy.
bro. Sleeper, he says sleeper in Michigan State with Jonathan Smith. Okay. All right.
They lost way too much. They lost.
Yeah,
way
they
too
lost,
much.
especially the quarterback position. He's got a lot to do in terms of a rebuild up there. I think overall Michigan State's got a lot of resources up there, but they need some time to rebuild that up there.
Right.
Maybe in 2
right.
years, that could be a pretender. Not
So,
a-
and Michigan
not a
State's
pretender.
Michigan State's schedule doesn't do them any benefits this year, if I recall correctly.
Right. Cody, what about any surprise teams? I think we all kind of think, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan are all in, Penn State are all in that top four.
Yeah.
But what about a team that nobody's thinking about?
Well, I don't necessarily know that nobody's thinking about them, but Oregon for me has definitely got to be top of my contender list. As far as the team that I think will have the dark horse best shot at winning it is going to be Iowa, not only because of the offensive coordinator that they've kind of been able to bring in, but scheduling does in fact matter. They do have to get past Ohio State and things of that nature, but they miss Oregon, they miss Michigan, they miss Penn State. They play Wisconsin at home. They play Maryland at home, and then they don't have to play USC. They do get to go play UCLA. So their trip out west is a very manageable one. And if this is the year that Kirk Ferentz does have this offensive coordinator capability with this new system, we all know that the defense is going to hold their Hawkeye gold behind them.
Mm.
And coach, one thing that's also for Nebraska, they have guys Dylan Raiola as their quarterback now. And
Right.
you got that from Georgia. I think that's another stepping stone for Matt Rule to make Nebraska also a 6, 7, 8 win team.
Big facts.
And going to Nebraska too, a very good friend of mine. I just texted him again. He's an NFL scout, goes to plenty of different schools around the country. Especially he works for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He said to me, the two toughest teams in practice he's ever watched practice continuously, day in and day out, are Georgia and Nebraska. Those two schools, he said, easily when he's gone to practices, he said those two are on different levels in terms of practices and development. And he just said to me again, JJ, watch that Nebraska team in 2 years with Matt Rule, is what he said to me.
There was some big stuff. And we heard, I think some of us seen that clip that Matt Rule had where he said that, Georgia, and he said that he liked the way that his team practiced as well. So, I mean, like I said, I think Matt Rule knows it takes the trenches. That's what and he's a 10-year coach. So I think that's going to help him. Do they have the playmakers on the outside is the question to compete. I mean, I'm interested to see, we're going to talk here in a minute about some games to watch and some big games we're interested in. Just Big Ten on Big Ten, period. But just looking outside the Big Ten, I'm interested in that Colorado traveling to Lincoln to take on Nebraska early in the year. So that should be interesting.
Hey, I think it's fair to say that Matt Rule has far more talent right now at Nebraska than he ever did at Baylor whenever he took over a disastrous situation at Baylor when they could barely field a team.
Good call. Good.
But that was the Big 12, and this is now the Big 10. So there is differences in the team caliber.
True.
I agree with that. Yeah.
True. So listen, I just put together like 10 quick games, of course, that I'm looking forward to, big games or not. I got of course, the Michigan versus USC. You got Michigan who lives in the trenches and USC who lives on the outside. It's like total contrasting styles. Michigan, Oregon. I'm interested to see that as well. And then, of course, always Michigan, Ohio State. Ohio State traveling to Oregon. I don't know how many years back we watched Oregon go into Columbus and beat Ohio State without their best defensive player at the time. And then Iowa versus Washington. Jed Fish in Iowa, that's like two contrasting styles. And then you see on the other side, Ohio State at Penn State. Can Penn State get a win? Can Penn State get a win over Ohio State? They haven't beaten Ohio State, and I don't know, Andrew, you can tell me, but I think that's the next step for James Franklin. If he can eventually take that step, then they're gonna have to figure out something up there in Happy Valley. And then Penn State at USC, Penn State at Wisconsin. And then Nebraska, Wisconsin, just because of both of the second-year coaches, Luke Fickell and Matt Rule. I think we all think highly of both of those coaches. So I want to see, like Shawty mentioned in another show, your second year is like the biggest jump in progress that you see with your players and your team. And then USC versus Wisconsin. I don't know when that game is. If you still in here, is that later on in the season? But I think Wisconsin got to travel out west. Anybody got
September
any
28th?
September 28th. I got it. Franklin is 1-9. That's what we need to see. Franklin is 1-9. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, we last won in 2016. The block.
Right. Michigan has the number one cornerback in college football. Johnson, I think his last name. I could be wrong on that, but I think his last name Will Johnson. But also they lost the two safeties, like I say, Keon Saab to Alabama in the transfer portal and Rod Moore to injury. So that could affect being the number one corner in the nation. So anybody like just open forum, man. Anybody want to get in with games that maybe a sneaky game, good game to watch as a fan?
Hey, can we address the fallacy that the Big Ten is significantly better than the Big 12 real quick?
Jump on it, Cody. Jump on it.
All right.
Cody.
All right, buddy. You know good and daggone well that the Big Ten goes about what, 5 legit heavy, and then what? And then a massive drop off. Is the Big Ten better than the Big 12? For sure. But don't act like that the scheduling is more difficult, because if there's the one thing that's more difficult about the Big 12 and the Big 10, and it's not even close, is the fact that you have to prepare every single week. There's no guaranteed wins. Look at the 18 teams in the Big 10, buddy. There's quite a few written in wins.
Any of those 5 teams, though, would win the Big 12.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, and that's the point. It's just
no, that's not what you said. You said that there's a different schedule, so it's a lot harder. That's a lot harder schedule. Come on, bro.
Eons ago.
Don't you try to backtrack now. I heard what you said.
All right, so let's Toast Media said that's every conference. I've been saying this for years. I feel like there are like the elite of every conference, and then of course a middle section, and then some people who just, like you say, some circled wins and things of that nature. James Strikes gets in and says Rutgers versus USC gonna be a barn burner. I agree. I think Rutgers is going to be able to score on them, and they probably.
What are they going to call that? The special needs bowl? What are we talking about here?
So, I like Wisconsin, Nebraska. I think that Wisconsin-Nebraska game is going to be a lot of fun.
Which coach you think is in a better predicament right now, Jason? Luke Fickell or Matt Rule?
Ooh, I think
that's a good question.
Man, that is a good question.
Well, hold on. More difficult job or more difficult current situation?
No, just is the thing. You know, I guess I look at Luke Fickell, who's a good coach. He's come in, and yeah, he's a tough-minded coach. But Wisconsin's used to just ground and pound. Like, we can't even remember their quarterbacks from year to year. And I don't think that's necessarily what he wants to do. And then with Nebraska, when's the last time Nebraska was good, bro? I mean, they're fighting off the black shirts still. Let me tell it. I mean, like
just as long as HGTV was on. Last time you had that bunny ears on your television when Nebraska was good.
So we got Fisher. We got Fisherman says Rule because he, as I guess future wise, he has Raiola.
That's what I was
about to say. Yeah. And now Les Toast says Luke down at Wisconsin.
I think so, kind of too, because if you look at Luke Fickell, he's also got Phil Longo there. That I don't know that I love that they're going, spread and all that kind of stuff, the way that they are spreading it out the way they are, because that's Wisconsin is line up and run over your ass, and that's what they do. But it hadn't really done very well for them in the last 4 or 5 years anyway, So what they were doing with Paul Chryst and those guys, it wasn't out anymore. So I think that Luke Fickell can kind of marry those two styles together a little bit. I mean, look, this guy recruits very well. We talked a little bit about the quarterback that they got coming in from Miami 2 years ago. He was hot, right? He was hot. So
yeah, Tyler Van Dyke. Can he get back to where he was freshman year? Yeah.
I think with Phil Longo, you can. I think that Dylan, is he a better quarterback? Probably, but as a freshman, that's a lot to ask, man. That's a lot.
Nebraska has deeper pockets too.
See, that's something I didn't know.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I will say that too. And when you look at, like, for instance, like, again, I'm a big Phil Longo guy. That's the guy who really developed When you look at a guy like Sam Howell early on, Drake May, he's been there with quarterbacks. I think Matt Rule is in a great. I mean, I think he's a better football coach than Luke Fickell, and that's still tough on Luke Fickell because he's a tremendous football coach. But when you look at Wisconsin has actually had success, has actually won the western side of that division, has actually had success of 10-plus wins in recent memory. I think Nebraska, he's got such a high tide up there. I think in a couple years he will have it back. He'll probably be the first coach with Nebraska in the coach who was there before Scott Frost, tremendous football coach. He was at the Youngstown State for a while. Overall, though, Nebraska has been such a tide where it's just been average to mediocrity for so long. You look at Wisconsin; they've actually at least done it. And you look at Phil Longo, the way he runs his offense; it's a modern day offense. He's able to adapt. Very good tactician. He's got Tyler Van Dyke up there. I think Tyler, the issues he really had at Miami, and from people that I've talked to that have coached down there, is getting those guys to stay focused, especially when you're down in Miami. There's a lot of things to do down there. There's a lot of ways to get in trouble down there. But at the end of the day, I think that you look at Tyler Van Dyke, he's going to a very good quarterback coach. I think Phil Longo is tremendous at what he does. That's why Luke Fickell took him from North Carolina to go to Wisconsin. I think there's a really good chance down there. But then obviously you have Matt Rule still with Dylan Raiola. I think in a couple of years, I think Nebraska's going to be a damn good football team. You just can't count out Matt Rule. I think just like for what he's done in his track record, everywhere he's been, he's won. Besides the National Football League, besides that, in college football, like guy knows how to build it.
Well, we've seen that, but we've seen that story before. It's not like Nick Saban was great in the
Urban Meyer, a phenomenal time in Jacksonville.
What you think, Jason? You got to answer, dog. Who's in the better predicament? Luke Fickell.
I still think right now, I think it's Luke Fickell right now. I think he's in a better position today because of the fact that he doesn't have a freshman at quarterback. And I think that I don't know that I think that Matt Rule is necessarily a better coach than him. I think they're both pretty damn good. You know what I mean? And I do think that Matt Rule is perfect for what they needed him to be at Nebraska because he's, again, as I said, he's gone in and taken teams that were at the bottom and turn them into real football teams within a few years. So I do think that Nebraska takes a step forward, but I also think that Wisconsin takes a step forward this year. I think that they've got a quarterback that Phil Longo can work with. I think he's proven his worth when it comes to those guys, and I think they're going to be a little bit better. I like them to I really don't see them like winning the conference. I think there's going to be there's two teams that can win it. There's just
Oregon, Ohio State,
or Ohio State, and that's it to me.
All right, Shawty, the question at least something you always talk about with teams, Nebraska and Wisconsin getting the same piece of the pie. Wisconsin has been to the Big Ten championship when it was divisions, albeit the easier division. Can Nebraska get back to the mountaintop? It's been a long time, though.
I mean, they can, man. I just think, it's a branding issue with Wisconsin. That's just my opinion. It's just a branding issue.
Like expand on that.
I mean, when you have so many other, hot, flashy colleges and things that's going on, and then you already got people like Michigan, Ohio State in the conference, just the Wisconsin brand, it just doesn't – I just don't think they'll ever really be able to be that top-tier echelon in that conference as long as those –
The Nebraska. Okay. I got you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but that's every conference, right? Florida State and Clemson in the ACC, Georgia, Bama, but then now you got brands like Texas OU. So outside of those four, if you're talking big brands, and the LSU, how do you navigate through those? But you always say
you got to get the right guy, which I think Nebraska has. I just think Wisconsin has a better foundation. So that's why I think Fickell kind of will start out at a better rate. But I think over time, Matt Rule would definitely overtake what Fickell is doing at Wisconsin.
Get in on that, Cody and Andrew. Wisconsin, Nebraska. Fickell with early success. Matt Rule maybe more long term.
Yeah, I mean, and also you think when Tyler Van Dyke's biggest problem was the leaky offensive line of Miami, they always constantly got him into trouble. Wisconsin, they're known for their big boys. And they always recruit well when it comes to that. They're going to give them enough time for that. Wisconsin does have a good history of winning consistently, 8-9 years. Sure, they're moving on from the Paul Chryst world where their brand was, we're just going to run you to death and we're going to beat you 21-20 and we're going to go on to the next route. Nebraska hasn't been good in so long, but they still somehow have a brand out there because people still remember their utter dominance of over a decade, 2 decades. So I think Matt Rule needs time. He doesn't have a magic wand. And yes, Dylan Raiola is great, but he's a freshman. But it's at least a step in the right direction. So I think Wisconsin will have a better year this year. But in 2 years from now, we'll probably flip-flop that and say Nebraska will probably be up there because I believe in Matt Rule. But I also believe in Luke Fickell. These are actually 2 programs that finally I think they're on the right track. Like they have the coach, they have the quarterback, they have their mindset. I also believe in Nebraska because they have deeper pockets. They have a lot of money for the transfer. They have a lot of money for the NIL and branding, where Wisconsin was kind of hesitant in the past with the Paul Chryst era to not go as far as what Clemson's done and just put their fingers in their ears and sing la, 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 la.
Right.
But they were not known for putting big money or big emphasis on transfers. So I think they're still a little bit behind in that, where Nebraska is ready to pay, ready to play. And I think in 2 years from now, we're going to be talking about them as a serious contender.
Cody, your thoughts and agreements? Luke Fickell early, Nebraska made long term?
Absolutely. I think Andrew hit a home run. Shawty obviously alluded to it. Right. One of the biggest reasons, though, I think, is the support. So that's why I asked you who's in the better position or who's in the more advantageous position. Because I think that Fickell's currently in the better position, but Matt Rule is in a more advantageous situation, not only because of the dollar bills, but I almost think that half of their fan base might be a little nuts, because who supports a team and sells out a stadium year after year after year to go watch 3 wins? Who does that?
There were
Nebraska
100,000 people. There were 100,000 people watching their volleyball
If Nebraska gets 8 wins, oh my gosh, dude, they will be dumping bags of money trucks off the front doors of Lincoln, Nebraska until the cows come home.
Big facts. Listen, Les Toast Media says it, man. It took Michigan 8 years with Jim, and he wanted to go in year 5 and 6. Listen, I think me and Jason had this conversation yesterday, just talking. We was off camera or whatever. Like at some point early in the coach's season, I think a lot of fans may want them to be gone. Outside of maybe, I guess that's why people are high on Dan Lanning, because the first year didn't he win like 9 or 10? I know in Kirby's first year, after losing to Vandy and Tech, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but we got to get this crap fixed right here, bro. Now it didn't take long into the second season, game 4 or so, and I was good. But if they can hold on,
I think there's a little extra mystique with Dan Lanning and being able to snag Bo Nix and then get Dylan Gabriel. Like he's injecting a massive shot of excitement into the fan base consistently right before the season starts. That's pretty big key to success to keep people happy, at least.
That's a good point. Now, Shawty, you can't keep doing it in the portal, and sometimes at some point you got to develop a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
I totally agree.
I'm like,
that's the great thing about the portal when you're a new coach. You know what I'm saying? You can do that kind of stuff. You can get that quick injection of talent, but at some point you got to get, like you said, get a guy in there that you can actually put into your program, put into your system, and develop.
Right. And
they do have Dante Moore, though.
I was about to say, but they got him from the portal out of UCLA. So I'm just saying, like, at some point, there has to be a high school guy that you can actually bring in and develop.
And I will say this, too, though. The type of offense that he run, that kind of spread option, that also caters to just more athletic quarterbacks with just, good arms. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot easier for them to be acclimated into that offense and be successful.
Right,
serious arm talent. Dante has serious arm.
Yeah,
talent.
I actually wanted Dante coming out of high school. I mean, he went to Chip Kelly, but with Gabriel's, I think that's why, like you said earlier, Shawty, he's gonna fit right in that offense. I think he's definitely a good, mobile quarterback. I don't think their offense is set up to take a whole bunch of shots down the field. So, as Jason has told us plenty of times, there's like a lot of deep stuff that he can't be on time with or whatever. But I don't think he's gonna need to. So I think it might look a little bit. I don't think he's the athlete that Bo Nix is, but I think he's going to be good enough to run in that offense. Jason, I didn't know if you had anything on that.
No, I think
he's elusively athletic for damn sure.
I like Dylan a lot. I mean, you know how I feel about Dylan Gabriel. I think that he was the right guy at the right time for Oklahoma.
Right.
You know, when you lose Caleb Williams, who goes on and wins a Heisman, obviously he's not him. But for him to come in, the leadership that he shows, and I think that the fact that he's been in college football for freaking 15 years, he should be a leader, right?
Right.
Now,
Hey, that matters. That matters.
Listen, it does. And so, you know, I think that he is definitely probably what this young team needs there at Oregon. Look, for all everything that Dan Lanning has done, we know that he hasn't won the big game yet. I mean, he lost to Oregon State in year one. They didn't really have a quarterback, and they had a huge lead and still lost that game. So, you know, then they lose 3.
They got dusted by Utah.
Right.
No, I think they beat
the first year.
No, big to the
Not the first time.
Pac-12 title game.
Not the first time. The first year he didn't. The second year. Last year he did. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Anyway, but they lost to Washington 3 times to Kalen DeBoer. And don't get me wrong, they had unbelievable freaking receiving room. So you know, we can say whatever you want about the Ohio State receiving room, but that freaking receiving room at Washington was the real deal with Roma Dunze and those guys. It was just unbelievable. But what I would tell you is that having a guy like Dylan Gabriel who's going to come in, he's going to know what you need to do. And he's, you know, look, man, he is that guy that will definitely take a lot of that stuff on his shoulders, and it doesn't bother him that much. He's a gamer. Athletically speaking, Dante Moore is all that, though. I mean, when I say arm talent, this is the kind of guy that he throws guys open. I think it's perfect for him to come in and get to learn under Dylan Gabriel a little bit, and you know, kind of have an opportunity where he doesn't have to jump in unless, you know, you had an injury or something like that. But I do think it's a good situation for Oregon. I really do.
The most important thing is that he protects the football.
Facts.
Right.
He does.
Right.
He only had 6 interceptions both years. So, you know, upwards of 27 to 30 touchdowns in both of the years and only 6 interceptions. So he definitely does that.
So, man, we talked about a lot of teams in depth, man, and I think we kind of touched on some Penn State, Andrew, but you're here, man. We need to know, what is your expectations for this year, and what is a disappointing season for this year?
I would say at the minimum 10 wins, just because the schedule matches up well. We're catching a UCLA and Washington team on the downslide. We have to go to USC. We've played them in the past. We've played them well. I expect that, because then if the only real expected loss there is Ohio State and maybe one random one, that's 10-2. Okay. I think we have to make the playoffs now, because no team would have been better off in the past 6 years than Penn State if it was 12 teams in a playoff. We ranked in the top 12 4 of those 6 teams, 6 times. I expect them to get 10-2. I'm hoping for 11-1, and if that happens, we're good. Anything less than that, James Franklin's on the hot seat. That's simple and plain.
Where does Penn State come rank in the
I would
ranking?
say 10. I would say 10th overall. Sounds about right. Give or take.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, I've seen them as high as 8, as low as 11. But that seems about right.
So at that point, they will consider you at that point a playoff team.
Right, right. That's what he's saying. He's saying they finished in the top 12 for the last 5 years. So by those standards, even not winning the Big Ten, they should still. And we all think, you know, the Big Ten and SEC is going to get 6 or 7. So I think those are kind of realistic, especially for the tenured coach that James Franklin is. It's like, bro, like, we got 12 teams now, dog. Like,
no doubt.
And we're going through all these OCs every single year, and we have all the excuses, and every year the offensive line is getting better. And I just saw that we have the second best offensive line projected in the Big Ten. Who knows?
And that's what he does really well, man, is block
like,
up.
We have great – Phil Trautwein is a great offensive line coach, and I want him to succeed. He stocked the cupboard, and I want Andy Kay to put in the wrinkle, and I want to see Drew actually pick up that playbook and play without that governor, those training wheels, where he can sling that thing. And I'm okay with him throwing an interception 50 yards down the field, because at least we're trying. We didn't even do that last year. So I want to
No, it
see
was
a
terrible.
more confident Drew Aller, and I want 10 wins, and I want to go to the playoffs.
All
No
right.
risk it, no
So-
biscuit, man. No risk it, no biscuit.
Right. So our resident Penn State guy, Sideline Sports. Listen, Sideline Sports Network, Penn State. Andrew says 10 wins minimum, but he's expecting 11-1, and both either way, 10 or 11 wins playoffs. Or James Franklin need to be in the office with the officials having some serious talks. Listen, man, before we move on and get everybody else's thoughts, man.
Hey,
Listen,
Coach,
man, we
I
bringing
just-
y'all some. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, you look at the FPI and the power rankings in the Big Ten. Penn State's coming in at number 3.
Okay.
Number 4 with the football professor who does his power rankings as well. So he's in. It's either he's got USC at number 3, but I mean, you know, ESPN has them at number 5. So it's pretty tight in there with both of those teams or with both of those ranking services. So. That's what you're looking at.
That looks like everybody's expectations is there, and I mean, I want to see if anybody has any difference of opinions as far as floor for the year. That you know, like I say, Andrew says 10. But before we move on, man, listen, man, we're bringing y'all some fire content. We got a lot of good content creators on the panel. This is the panel that'll be here all year. The Saturday Night Snap Count every Saturday during the season. Preseason is every other Saturday. Next conference we'll be talking about is the Big 12 in 2 weeks. So, you know, we'll be touching on Cody's home ground. But listen, man, regardless of whether you're watching on the Fan Addict Sports Network, over on Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen, on Cody's Locked On Oklahoma State, Hall of Fame College Football, or Just My Damn Opinion, man, hit the like button, man, and subscribe to everybody's channel. Cody does content every single day. So if you want college football, like every single day, he does college football. And Jason's right there with him, man. And JJ's listen, man, JJ all around the country. JJ know a lot of people that we don't know too, man. JJ be in the room shaking hands and exchanging money and everything. So,
No, you can tell. Hey,
Hey,
you
listen.
can tell them the truth. JJ's out there kissing babies and signing titties. That's what JJ.
right. And listen,
He's your
and-
recruiting coordinator for your team. He's the recruiting guy.
and Shawty plays. So listen, man, we got all the content for you, man. Make sure you're hitting that like button, sharing it, and everything else, man. So, but back to Penn State, 10 wins. I'm with you, Andrew. I am with you, like dog. 10 wins, I think 10-2 gets you in the playoffs in the Big Ten anyway.
Yeah.
Whether you're in the championship or not, you may be that at-large team. I think anything less than 10, I'm gonna keep it a buck. He should be out the door. Not talking to him. He need to be out the door, bro. Like, I don't care. Like, you don't have to play. You don't play Michigan this year, do you? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, JJ, what you thinking, man? 10 out of 10, or he got to go, dog.
I would agree. I just think with the amount of talent he has up there, again, Abdul Carter, who really leads the way in terms of defense, and obviously they still have a great linebacker room. I like what they have up there. Overall, when you look at their team, I mean, he should be winning at least the floor. I agree with 10 games. If he goes below 10 games, then yeah, eventually, okay, hey, had that conversation. And I think you talked about bringing up a potential Matt Rule coming from Nebraska back home to Penn State, but overall, you look at that team, they got a lot of talent up there. And if he can't find a way to get it done, I agree. You got to start looking somewhere else.
Cody, any way he saves his job if he doesn't win 10?
I think he does win 10, but I have his losses to Ohio State and West Virginia. So the real question is, how does Penn State country feel about losing to a Big 12 team to start off the daggone season?
Wow.
Hey, Andrew.
Cody dropping bombs in this mud. Dropping bombs.
Dude,
Hey, that's the first game of the season, week 1, baby.
I'm a Pitt fan. My rivals are Penn State and West Virginia, but I got news for you. Penn State's going to win by 3 tutties when they go to Morgantown.
Hold on, JJ. Put your money where your mouth is. I got 500 says otherwise.
Uh-oh,
Cody Benjamins, baby.
Cody laying it down on the snap count, y'all.
Hold on, y'all. Real quick. They are a 9-4 team that returns 87% of their roster. West Virginia is not going to lay over for anybody.
Hey,
JJ,
is that the same?
JJ, you better whip that billfold out, homie.
Hey, is that the same West Virginia team? Is that the same West Virginia team that didn't beat one team with a winning record to end the year?
Yeah,
it the
that's
same
why
one?
you should.
And then
That's
they
why
got
you should
smacked.
take my money.
Wait. They
Take
got smacked
my
by
money,
Oklahoma.
JJ.
They got smacked
Take
by
my
Oklahoma
money.
State, and they got smacked by Penn State last year.
Shut up and take my money.
I
Oh,
like
there
it.
goes my camera.
I like it. Also, shout out to Brinsky.
Are you not
man, in the comments.
entertained?
Right.
Are you not
Shout out to
entertained?
Brinsky Sharp from the Sharpshooters podcast in the comments, man. He's one of our panel members. That's right. He's got some family stuff going on with the little baby, man. Hopefully your baby's all right, man. But he'll be on here too, representing Alabama, y'all, and Kalen DeBoer. So listen, man, Cody out here calling shots, man. I don't know, Andrew, if you want to take him up on
I think you
that
should
bet.
take that $500 and get it on medication, brother.
Hey, Andrew.
Bring it on, buddy.
Andrew,
Bring
I
it
got
on.
y'all.
You know what that sounds like, Andrew? Sounds like scared talk, my God.
Oh, absolutely. My wife would murder me if I put $500 on a Penn State game. Are you kidding me?
Hey, I at least got y'all winning 10 or 11 games, man. In my way too early predictions, I got you guys playing Notre Dame in the first round. You guys
Oh, that'd be fun. We hate each other.
And Notre Dame is 6.
So, Sade, with that said, less than 10, get him fired or just hot seat?
I think he'd probably be. It'll be tough to fire him, but I would say he should be fired.
Is there any world, Jason, where there's a possibility that Penn State goes 8-4?
Who?
Is there any world?
Not with that
Jeez.
schedule. I don't think so. No, their defense is too good. And honestly, I see them going in and beating USC. I really
UCLA.
do. I
And
think
UCLA. I don't see them losing either one of them.
UCLA, they're beating the
Their
crap
only
out of
other maybe
UCLA.
loss would be Wisconsin, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't
This is at
really.
Wisconsin.
I think 2 is probably the floor. I mean, at 9-3, if they go 8-4, yeah, you got to fire him because I can't imagine them losing 4 games in this schedule.
Me
No way.
either. I honestly can't either. I don't. That's what I'm saying. I like 10-2. Like, I mean, unless it's like, the injury bug just goes rampant. Like, how are they losing 4 games?
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
bro.
It'd be yeah, he'd have had to have screwed that way the hell up.
Right.
There would have to be massive injuries or
Yeah, it's
I don't
wacky.
know.
It's a wacky thought.
I don't know. I can't see 4.
Okay. All right.
I don't even know that I see 3 really.
I think we all, like I
9-3
say, I think
9-3
we
is hard to see.
But
9-3
if you
is hard to
squint
see.
really high and you put your hand over your eye, like,
Right. So everybody's pretty much on the same page with that, James Franklin, man. All right, man. Any other thoughts or notes on the Big Ten before we get out of here, fellas? Anybody jump in? I think we hit a lot of it, man. Is this Mike Loxley's last year at Maryland?
One thing I will say, I think the Big Ten once again is one of the only conferences that have 2 teams ranked in the top 10 offensively and defensively. So, the Big Ten has something to say this year on paper, anyway.
I think so too. I mean, I think Ohio State, honestly, coming into the
State
year,
does.
may have the best roster top to bottom than everybody. I mean, they already have more 4 and 5 stars than Alabama and Georgia. If you look at the rankings, and then they brought in transfers from here,
Adding
and transfers
Caleb
from
Downs
there,
was huge.
adding Caleb Downs, Adam Quishon
Huge.
Junkins. Like, bro, I mean, I'm not saying that Ryan Day is going to be fired. I think I might be higher on Ryan Day than Ohio State fans are, but I mean, he can't screw the pooch on this one. He's a minimum got to beat Michigan. If he doesn't beat Michigan, I think
You gotta
he
beat
could be
Michigan.
gone for real. Like,
You gotta
they don't
beat
know nothing about
beat
that, no.
Michigan, man. Yeah.
Right. So, all right, you got a question here. Nidio, hey man, loyal supporter to a lot of these channels here. He says, Andrew, got a question. Says, thoughts on former Nittany Lion Dante Cephas' time in Happy Valley?
Yeah, it was coming from Kent State to Penn State. He took a long time to pick up the playbook. He couldn't crack the top 3. Sometimes he didn't crack the top 4. He was very overvalued. He got lost in the shuffle with not really even a great wide receiver room. I have no idea what happened to him. I was pretty high on him. I thought he was going to be probably our starting wide receiver, maybe at sometimes Z, but we lost him this year, and we're not going to miss him at all. I wish he had more of an impact, but that's sometimes what you do with the transfer market. Some things just don't go well.
Right. All right, man. Andrew, we'll start with you, man. Before we get out of here, I want everybody to go around and tell them what you got going on and where they can find you at, man.
Well, we have this Big Ten preview. I'm going to do a lot more research and start sending out some more articles as we are now about 2 months away, or maybe a little bit less than kickoff. You can find me at SSN_Penn State, and I will be a consistent guest this year for Saturday Night Snap Count. And I might pop in for any one of those Wednesday shows. I'm very excited. The off season's over, and we are Penn State, baby. 10-2 or bust.
That's right, man. That's right. And then next, in 2 weeks from now, July the 20th, we'll be talking Big 12 football. So, Cody, you go ahead and tell them where they can find you at and what you got going on, my man.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother, man. I do the daily Locked On Oklahoma State show. I'm not really all that involved in socials because sometimes I just want to pull my hair out and throw my phone. So I try to focus on the show, but I have fun on Jason's, and I make some appearances. Like next Monday, I'm on the Mark Rogers College Football show. So, I just cover the Big 12, Oklahoma State, and try to have a good time. And I'm really glad that you did bring me in here because I have to admit, I have a problem. I like really healthy butts, and sometimes I can't lie. So it's good. It's good to be here. It's good to get that off my chest.
That's right, man. That's our guy, Cody, man. Locked On Oklahoma State. Listen, for anybody watching, man, this is the panel alongside the stat guy who will be with us on a regular basis, and Brisky Sharp. This is the regular panel. This is not a one-time thing. So if you like the content, man, make sure you keep coming back. And, of course, subscribe to these channels. Jason, tell them where they can get at you, man.
As always, Hall of Fame college football with Jason and the coach. That's at CFB-pod, as you see right here on the screen. We're running morning shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It is the Rise and Shine College Football. Coach I's been popping in there with me a lot, and we also get the stash in there some as well. Got a lot of guys that have kind of popped in. Cody's been in a little bit as well. Hey, man, we enjoy it. We enjoy it, man. Enjoying doing that. We're going to probably crank it up the closer that we get to the season, and then Coach I and Shawty have we got some plans coming up for the season once it gets here as well, so we're excited about that. We'll probably be getting with some of you other creators here to talk about that as well moving forward. So hey, man, make sure you guys get over there. We're really close to cracking that 4,000. We went to 3,500 about a week ago. We're already at almost 3,600. We really would like to get to 4,000 before the season starts, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Man,
make sure you get over to Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach, man. The coach was actually in the chat today. And I want to say I was hoping he would get in the chat today, but not Neilio, but Chicken. Shout out to Chicken, man. He's a part of the Hall of Fame College Football family and comes over to support the Fan Addict. He is our first member. We do have channel memberships. I didn't even tell Chicken, and he actually just jumped in and became a member, man. So shout out to Chicken. All right, JJ. Tell them where they can find you, what you got going on, man.
Again, appreciate always coming on to this show, man. Again, there's tremendous content creators you have here. No bullshit, all knowledge. So it's always good jumping on here with you gentlemen. Again, you can find me on Twitter at JJ_Kitchen40. And you can also follow me on YouTube at Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. I got some shows that are already recorded. We'll be dropping more of the ACC content, ranking the teams, ranking the coaches. Teams to watch for coming out, and obviously too have an interview coming out with an attorney, obviously going over the ACC lawsuit. We have that stuff dropping. That'll be dropping roughly in like about a week or so. So that's
told y'all, JJ, no people, baby.
But I can tell you this though, man, it's always great to be on here, man. I appreciate everybody following. The show is great because of the content creators, but more importantly, you guys in the chat group. The engagement is always great. That's what makes this show great. Again, it's a privilege to come on to this show, and again, follow me on those, and again, appreciate the time as always.
That's right, man. That's right, man. And before I go, man, I'm gonna bring in my homie, man. Listen, man, this dude, he got a lot going on, so make sure you listen carefully when he rolls them down. Listen, but we got him on because he brings a unique perspective, man. We're fans with a lot of knowledge of the game, but he played at the highest level at Georgia, man. Amen. With a lot of good guys and made his own mark there. Shawty, tell them where they can get at you, man, and what you got going on.
Yeah, man. Before I say anything, I will say to JJ point, I think we will be welcoming Florida State and Clemson to the SEC pretty soon.
Okay.
with that being said, man, yeah, when I first started this, I used to get on this show and it was never a problem. I really had nothing to say. You could just find me on Respect the Hedges. That was it. I don't have any social media or anything like that. But now how things have changed. With that being said, you can find me on Respect the Hedges Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock. You also can find me Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, Doc and the Jock, where I am with a licensed therapist, a licensed doctor, and we're talking about mental health issues. So you can find me at 7 o'clock, Doc and the Jock. You can also find me here Saturday night, obviously on Saturday night Snap Count. And you can also find me on my own show, Wednesday nights, YouTube, Just My Damn Opinion at 9:30. I think that's it, Coach.
That's right, man. Y'all make sure y'all get out there. That's right. If you have followed this channel for a while, that is right. You heard him right. Shawty is with a licensed psychologist. She's a licensed coach, a life coach. They talking mental health, relationships, all that good stuff. That's right. He's not just sports, baby. Y'all check him out on Doc and the Jock. Respect the Hedges on Tuesday. Y'all already know how we get down. And then Just My Damn Opinion. They talk about everything on Just My Damn Opinion. So sports not so much. They might open up with some sports, but they really keep it about a whole bunch of other stuff. So y'all make sure if y'all like to talk about other things, man, check out Just My Damn Opinion. Again, man, this is a Saturday night Snap Count, man. Right now we're doing every other Saturday because it's preseason. But once the season hits, week 0, it's every Saturday. Every Saturday night we wrapping up college football. This is the panel, man, alongside Bresky Sharp of the Sharpshooters podcast and our own stat guy from the Fanatic, man. You already know who I am, Coach. Listen, I want to take the time to thank everybody that showed up in the comments. This is what we like. We like to interact, man. Like all your comments may not make it on the screen, but we see them. Somebody sees them. We'll try to address them, but we like the interaction. We like to try to tell y'all our perspective as fans who follow alongside the game, man. And then everybody that's watching this, not in the comments, we appreciate y'all too, man. Like, hey, you're helping the views, you know. You're helping the views. Not everybody has a comment. Somebody just wants to listen. Hopefully we helped you out on a Saturday night. Like we plan to do the rest of the season. And I want to thank my panel, man. Listen, I tried to put together a 5 panel. There's some people that hit me up soon as it came out, like, hey, I didn't make the panel. Hey, this is what it is. This is us 8. This is who it is. Hey, listen, honestly, we got a wait list. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. We actually got a wait list. But this is the panel, man, and these guys bring the fire every week, man. So we'll try to do that. Be sure to tune in July the 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're talking Big 12 preview. Listen, bring a friend to bring a friend. We ain't just talking Colorado. We talking Big 12 up and down. All right. Anybody got anything else before we get out of here?
Well, hey, Shorty mentioned that, the SEC could be welcoming in some new ACC members. JJ's going to chop it up about Pitt coming to the Big 12 too, baby.
Ooh, making moves.
They always say the dreamers always dream big.
Yeah. hey, make sure you bring SMU with you.
Oh, man. Listen, man, for all of our guys, man. Hey, Andrew at Sideline Sports Penn State. I got Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame college football. Cody Stovall, locked on Oklahoma State. JJ Kitchens is talking football, college football. JJ Kitchen, and I got Shawty Parker. Just my damn opinion. Doc and the Jock. Respect the Hedges. All that good jazz. Stat guy that's not with us tonight from Fanatic Sports, and Bransky from the Sharpshooters podcast. I'm Coach I. It's the Fanatic Snap Count. We up out of here, man.